So is there a reason for not having played live so much, or is it simply a case of the bands you're in at the moment are kind of like the Dear
Well,
Boys and it's just about?
I left my last gigging group under something of a cloud. I won't name them because they don't need any more publicity from me. Um, I still don't know why I was sacked. So I don't know. I did 111 gigs with them over 7 years, right through COVID, and then I was let go.
Oh wow, it seems to be a bit of a theme at the moment with drummers getting sacked and not really knowing why.
Well, funnily enough, they sacked me once or pretended that I'd resigned, and I said I haven't fucking resigned. And then about a month later, they did it again. So it really struck a chord with me with Zach.
Wow.
It seems to be just art imitating art.
Yeah,
That's
so
still a mystery, isn't it?
I can't help but laugh, but that's so so like what's happened with Zack Starkey. It's
If you're going
amazing.
to sack someone, just fucking sack them. Don't tell everyone that, oh, he's walked away. Oh, he's gone to pastures new. Oh, it was a mutual parting of the ways. Anyway,
Yeah, and if you sack them, give them a reason as well, I guess. That
yeah, especially when you promise to. Anyway, fuck them. On with the interview, Paul.
well said. Let's talk about the chords for a little bit.
Mm.
So I guess it's fair to say the Chords were a big mod band back in the day, sort of late 70s. How much of an influence were the Who on the Chords?
Well, the advert that I answered read Keith Moon type drummer wanted. I turned up wearing a Target t-shirt and split my knuckle open on one of the drums and sprayed the drums in blood and broke the bass drum pedal and was offered the job on the spot. So there's a kind of synchronicity there with the Who. Um, all four members were really big Who fans, but especially me and Chris Pope, the principal songwriter and guitarist. I mean, we're just massive Who fans and really bonded over that. It's to me, it's the template for any band. You know, you haven't got a keyboard player and you haven't got backing vocalists and you haven't got, it's just four people on stage against the world, and they're also battling each other as well, which is something we used to do almost literally sometimes. And I just took that. I love that template. They looked like a band, they sounded like a band, they behaved like a band, and I sort of found my Who in the Chords, if you like.
Yeah. So answering an advert asking for a Keith Moon type drummer, was that like ultra confidence from being so young, or was it that, you honestly believed that you were the man for that job and you were the man who
I,
should answer that ad?
I'll tell you a funny story. I didn't even think I was a cocky, confident little bastard then, but I must have been, because I was very upset the night Keith Moon died, and I ended up getting arrested in Brighton and spending a night in the cells for criminal damage, which is a long story. But about a week later, I rang Polydor, and they put me through to the press office. And this woman, very haughty woman, said, yes. And I said, I just wondered if the Who are auditioning drummers. I mean, on what planet did I think that I would get that? I must have been 18, couldn't even tie my own laces. And she sort of said, oh, no, they've already found someone. They're not auditioning people. And the funny story is that about 6 months later, she was my press officer at
Oh wow.
Polydor. So I didn't lack confidence, but I don't know why, because I never had a lesson. And I'd only really been in one punk band before. So I wasn't accomplished. I'm still not accomplished. It was just bravado, I suppose.
Yeah, so were you a self-taught drummer then?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And it shows sometimes. No, it really does. I mean, I just used to drum along to Who records. And especially Quadrophenia and Who's Next. Because on a lot of the other earlier albums, it's really hard to make out the drums. I think the drums really suffer with Kit Lambert's production. It's one of the reasons I'm not such a fan of Tommy, and it's a little overblown. But the production to me is so soft. It sounds not as it should.
No, I think that's fair to say. Probably a lot of it to do with wanting to have orchestras on it and everything else, and then not being able to afford orchestras and just leaving that massive gap.
I don't know if if Kit's heroin addiction was helping either. I don't know if that was kicked in at that point, but
that's a good point, actually. Yeah,
probably not the most conducive for a good mix.
No, that's true. But I was talking to Tony Fletcher. We were talking about Tommy, and I made the point. I wonder if Who's Next would sound quite as good if it wasn't for the fact that Tommy is a little bit anemic, I guess. Does it make Who's Next sound better? I mean, it probably doesn't. I mean, it sounds great anyway, but
I think they made a conscious decision to go with Glyn Johns to make that step up. You know, it was a new decade, and I suspect they probably played a lot of the old recordings and thought, you know, it could be better. A lot of Who Sell Out as well is a bit wishy-washy in places. Shell Talmy got the best out of them on My Generation, which is a fantastic sounding record, I think. Because the drums are loud.
Yeah, that's right. And I guess Kit Lambert, well, he definitely was integral to their story, but I think it would be a very different story if he'd produced My Generation instead of Shell Talmy.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. It's a shame they fell out with him so badly, because I think he was a great producer for them.
Yeah, and is that, again, probably was Kit Lambert's influence, and
possibly, yeah. It's all mixed up with Reaction and Track and Polydor and lots of shenanigans going on then, weren't there?
Yeah, that's it.
Mid-60s.
That's amazing. Ended up with the woman from Polydor as your, what was it, your marketing, what was it?
Press officer.
Press officer.
Yeah. And a great job she didn't do. But anyway, let's move on. So I auditioned, got offered the job, and first gig, March 79, suddenly 50 mods appear out of nowhere. This is all word of mouth. You know, there's no internet, there's no mobile phones. And we all go, where have they come from? And then a couple of days later, we played the Wellington at Waterloo. We become the first band to play there, not some little cabaret duo. Sound checked in front of 200 Southampton fans waiting for their train. And then again, about another 70 mods turned up that night. And the manager was thinking, I'm not going to pay them, but I've got all this beer money coming over the bar. And we ended up playing there sort of every Saturday night for about 6 weeks. And then he wanted to start charging at the door, and we said bollocks. And we stopped playing there. But that was a very early breakthrough for us, that venue.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible how that is simply just word of mouth. And even today with social media and everything, probably wouldn't really get that these days.
No. To this day, I really don't know where they came from. And, they became Chords fans in the same way that I don't know if the Who ever really were a mod band. They were a band that were loved by mods, the imagery, the excitement, the flashiness of it. But, well, they were a mod band. They weren't the Dave Brubeck Five, and they weren't Martha Reeves and the Vandellas. So I don't know what a mod band is, but we had some of that imagery. You know, with Target T-shirts. I was making my own T-shirts using tape, like Daltrey did in the 60s. There's nothing original about me. And there'd been other bands. Buzzcocks, Generation X, had used a lot of mod imagery in that sort of punk era. But they never really attracted that kind of, tribe, I suppose. This is the time of the tribes, late 70s, skinheads, mods, punks, rockers, greasers, Road Rats.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about it because, yeah, I'm not sure the Who really were a mod band, especially as I think Roger and John were basically rockers. And I guess, well, I don't know, was Pete really a mod? I know he sort of
No,
admired the mods and was influenced by it, but
I think he was at first, yeah. And then I saw the Who. Who would have been drumming? I think Zach at the Forum, the old town and country club, mid '90s. No, it can't have been Zach then. It must have been early 2000s. And there were a bunch down the front saying, "We are the mods, we are the mods." And Daltrey just went to the microphone and said, "Fuck the mods." I mean, which is something that not many singers can get away with, abusing your audience like that.
yeah. Oh, brilliant. I guess maybe it's more of a vibe, maybe, or even just, is it the fashion? Because as you were talking, I was thinking about the Sex Pistols and how they're kind of the personification of punk, but I'd argue they're not really a punk band. They're more of a rock and roll band,
Yeah,
really.
a rock and roll band musically. But
Yeah.
then you had Rotten Lydon, and he makes them a punk band. Um, I I'm not sure. I'm not sure what makes a mod band, but we never wore suits like Secret Affair did, and we didn't. I mean, we did play the sort of obligatory '60s covers. Uh, Knock on Wood, Midnight Hour. Did we do Midnight Hour? Sort of Sam and Dave songs and stuff, but it was a bit. You're paying your dues, you're paying your respects, but it wasn't really our scene. Going back to the Who, which I think you'll like, that their imagery between '64 and '66, for me, that is the perfect template. What they wore, that pop art, the medals, the imagery, I just love that look. I still aspire to be in a band that looks like that. It just looks so fantastic to me. I think the Clash came close. The Clash looked like a brilliant band at their peak. Not in a mod way, but they just looked like the complete unit. And the Who were that to me. Just take the cover of My Generation. It's brilliant.